And we are EscrowGo. We've enjoyed working on this complex issue. A couple things that we were looking at. First was to resolve an issue that Moovel had expressed within their digital payment gateway, and then resolving this with multiple different providers that they work with, whether it's Uber or Lyft, and going into their ecosystem that they have. But as we expanded on that, we were able to figure out a way to deal with not just the payments, but also the issue of pollutions, carbon emissions, social responsibility, incentivizing good, and greater feedback on marketing data. Next slide, please. So the disintegration of payments mechanisms within the transportation system, it's a bit patchy right now with Moovel, with the way that's working with other providers. So the customer experience, while they're making a payment, the loss of the customer experience when they're going through, but the ability within, on the problem side, is the average emissions too, in the larger shared economy of the shared, when you're traveling, if you're using a shared transport method, it reduces your carbon emission. How to track and show that and verify that on the blockchain. The more industrialized the nation, also the more impact and the more ability that they can have to be part of that solution.
So this is our concept here. What we are proposing is to create an escrow or like a layer of payment system, and we are proposing to create a token which is like carbon tokens. This is like any cryptographic digital currency. How this works is, so the customer, he puts in some money into the Moovel account, let's say $100, he puts in $100, he gets $100 worth of carbon tokens. Now he can use those carbon tokens to book a ride of his choice, Lyft, Metro, bike, or whatever ride providers are out there. He's going to be incentivized for using carbon tokens to book a ride versus paying dollars to book a ride. So if he for the same ride which causes $10 through Lyft would cost him 9.75 using a carbon token, and if he takes a carpool it would cost him 9.5, a Metro 8.5, and a bike 8. This is based on his awareness of reducing carbon emissions, and these, as you move towards the right, these are more greener sources of travel. So this is the incentive to the client to choose this method of transportation and to use Moovel via carbon tokens. Now what happens here is the money which is accumulated in the escrow can use that to pay Lyft, Metro, bike, or whoever it is. Now these guys can accept our carbon tokens or they can accept dollars, whatever. In the process, what we are also doing is we are reducing carbon emissions. Now carbon emissions are traded on a carbon exchange, as you would know, Sam, right? Now these carbon emissions are collected in our bank, which is the Carbon Emission Reduction Bank. Now Moovel can go and trade those carbon emission reduction units with factories, go and sell that to them. And we were just Googling it up, and as of now, 1,000 tons of emission reductions would pay you around $20. So in Austin, if we are able to reduce 20% of the emissions every day, Austin has the potential to earn $90,000 every day by a mere reduction of 20% in carbon emissions. There are other uses of carbon tokens, like you pay for transport, you pay for parking, you pay at gas stations. I mean, pay anywhere, wherever they are accepted. We'll now see the proof of concept.
All right. So for the proof of concept, we used IBM Bluemix and IBM Hyperledger. So basically what we are trying to prove here is we didn't focus on the UI, but we want to come up with the items that really need to be going into the blockchain. So for example, when a RightTap user wants to sign up with a RightTap account, we collect the details like username, password, and the tokenly passphrase. For example, tokenly is place where they will have some tokens in their account. So when user clicks on this create the user account, these details will go into the block inside the blockchain. So it's created now. I can show you the blockchain. Going to home. So basically, similarly, there are other activities. So for example, when user wants to go to a particular destination and selects carrier like Lyft. Now what happens is escrow will look into the amount that he holds using the tokenly passphrase, and then he will hold some certain amount, and this transaction will be going into the blockchain as a block. Now similarly, the other activities, Lyft also will have to create an account, like customer account, and with a tokenly passphrase. So what happens is once the user gives a go ahead signal, this activity will be registered and Lyft will get the amount from the escrow. So basically the Moovel will be processing this, holding this amount, and Moovel will be paying this amount to Lyft, Uber, whatever it is. This way the seamless integration between all the Lyft, Uber and everyone will be happening, because they really don't need to do anything separate other than having some crypto wallet and cryptocurrency, which my friend will show.
So for 5 minutes.
Yeah, actually.
You can show the last block.
Yeah, I mean this is not the most recent block. So basically here if you can see, this is how the blocks get created, and the hash of the details that are being generated will be stored here, and we can retrieve them back. So he will go ahead and show you demo on how to create the tokens.
Tokenly is a suite of services that use Counterparty and Calendar on the blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain, to create tokens and assets. So what's going to happen is that onboarding is going to happen so that the only questions that we're answering for the vendors like Lyft, Uber, and anyone else that's being onboarded, the question we're asking is, do you want permission to tell me how much I owe you for a ride? Do you want to be my customer? And so all we need is for Lyft and Uber to, for all the other ride shares to give us the amount, and we, the individual, along with RideTap in the middle, will verify that. So what you guys are seeing is these 3 separate wallets. They're all open in one window, but all these tokens here, 11 billion of them, that can be created by RideTap or any other person, any other entity, is going to be able, those tokens will be able to be purchased, but they're not, they can be purchased with fiat or with Bitcoin or anything. All of these wallets, all of the characters, the rider, Lyft, which is one of the vendors, and RideTap have the wallets. And the escrow, the magic thing here, and that I'm going to finish on, is that when I, the customer, purchase tokens of $100 worth, I'm not sending or I'm not receiving anything into my wallet. I send the money in a transaction as a tip and as a fee. So it sends me 0 tokens, the tokens that are they stay there inside of the RideTap account, so that RideTap can pay the tokens and the money to the person. So everything is kept track of on the blockchain. It reduces the fees of cost of the transactions of moving some of the tokens around a little bit. And so this is just one proof of concept. All of these, the block times aren't in real time here with Counterparty. So basically, I'm just showing you all the accounts, and the way that it works is clearly set up here for what's to review during any questions. The token, Bitcoin's security measures are the beginning and the end of what's here right now. As far as for Tokenly, okay, I hear what you're saying. Whenever a user is creating an account, they will give they will basically be able to use a mechanism to create their passphrase without giving it to RideTap. This is a very common thing. So you can set up your account. All these wallets can be set up by the API that that RideTap would use to set up all these wallets for Lyft, for Uber, for themselves, all these wallets that are needed for moving money around. And RideTap doesn't have to know the passphrase.
How do you think you'll be able to make some money with it?
I know that the carbon market, which the global carbon market, which is not easy to tap in locally, but with globalization we can. I believe that it is one of the biggest commodity markets that's coming out with Paris. Even though America didn't adopt the accord, we can track back to tens of billions of dollars that have been traded in either voluntary markets in the United States or outside. But what we have here, as far as monetary, is the capitalization on the data that is generated in lots of other revenue streams. But as far as carbon emissions, we can legislatively and voluntarily get them to be accepted, and the city's willing to do parking, to accept the coin to get adoption.
And a couple other ways that we'd be able to make money on this is one, credit card transactions 2.75%. Within the token markets, it's typically 1%, so there's that transactional fee that's there, that there's a benefit there, minimizing the number of transactions. We anticipate that transaction fees will continue to decrease as time goes on, but at the same time, lobbying the Daimler Chrysler Group and the carbon emissions market with a grassroots up approach as compared to a top-down legislative approach on the carbon discussion. So this is actually giving 7 billion people a chance to be part of that solution and giving them the tools to show their positive impact proactively on solving this issue, and Moovel being part of that solution and tracking and showing that. So there's that. There's the marketing information that's there. There's about half a dozen different ways that money can be made by integrating this scheme into Moovel.
And there's a ton of information we're collecting from the riders, and it's going to be very useful for analytics, like data analytics. So that's another important information there.
Walk me again real quick, through the mechanism for how Lyft gets paid. Just use Lyft for example.
Okay, we'll go to Lyft's wallet. So this is a wallet that Lyft has. It has Bitcoin, or it can accept other types of token. This is a multi-coin wallet. Lyft would say, hey, I want in, I'll accept these tokens or this amount of tokens so that I can be in on the revenue. And so then all they would do is they would create a wallet. They would basically either have RideTap create the wallet, or they would create their own wallet, give us their address, and then we would create some keys for the multi-signature. So basically, Lyft gets paid when I sign my wallet, or when I give my private key or my passphrase and say, Lyft says that I owe them $35. I agree. Everything else is done in the middle with RideTap, handling all in the blockchain. Everything's done in sequence, so Lyft gets its money because I signed for the release of the funds in this multi-signature account right here. The RideTap multi-signature account is here in conjunction on the same platform as everything else. And RideTap's blockchain can query any other blockchain, and we will just verify the transactions for scaling into different modes or departments or things like that. So Lyft gets paid because of the multi-signature account, because I say pay them. And RideTap already has signed by being signed in.
All right, thank you so much.